Now, by 1824, what we frequently have happen, as we have in the United States, there is a change of political parties. When a conservative party can't solve the problems, the Liberal Party takes over. When the Liberal Party can't solve the problems, the Conservative Party takes over. So things haven't changed that much since this early time of Texas history. And so in this case, by 1824, it's the liberal Federalists that are going to set up the liberal Constitution of 1824. And as part of this, it is going to be Martin de Leon who decides. Remember, he has 10 children that he has to find land for. And so what Martin de Leon is going to do is he is going to request land and establish a colony in which he promises to bring 41 families. And these 41 families that he's going to bring are going to come to the colony that is going to be called Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe de Victoria. And it is shortened eventually to just Victoria. Some say that he was well acquainted with Guadalupe Victoria, who was actually one of the triumvirate that was ruling Mexico at the time. But I have not found any evidence that he actually knew Guadalupe Victoria, but certainly it's possible that he did it in honor of Guadalupe Victoria. Now, the colony did have a number of problems. You'll notice where it is. It is trapped between Austin's colony to the north, Green DeWitt's colony to the northwest, the Power and Hewitson colony to the south, and the McMullen and McGloin colony. And so in this case, Martin de Leon is going to be faced with, how do we deal with all these incoming Anglos? And there were many Anglos that were beginning to come in. His son Fernando becomes land commissioner. That means he is the one who is going to hand out land to all of the settlers that are coming into the area. He will take them out. He will show them where their land is. He will assign a surveyor to actually survey the land for them. And so Fernando then is going to be critically important. The only problem is that Fernando may perhaps not have been overly diplomatic. We don't know what the problem was. But he goes up to Austin's colony several times, in one case to find out about payment for a donkey, in another case to take a load of corn up to Austin's colony. In one case, he is actually thrown in jail by Austin. And we don't know why. We don't know what the problem was. There isn't any specific details about these problems. But evidently, Fernando was not the most diplomatic person in the world. By 1833, after the colony has been established for a number of years, Martin de Leon gets cholera. And unhappily, he is killed by the cholera. And so he suddenly is no longer around to help Patricia de la Garza. She does, however, have two sons-in-law, one of them Jose Maria Jesus Carvajal and the other Plácido Benavides. Carvajal had actually been a friend of Austin's in San Antonio, and his mother had been willing to let Austin send her young son, Jose Maria Jesus, to Kentucky. And in Kentucky, he had actually become a Protestant. He had learned surveying. He had learned to speak English. And so when he comes back to Texas, he comes and he becomes a surveyor for the Martin de Leon colony. Actually, he was surveyor in Anahuac first, or Anahuac as it was called. And so as a surveyor, he is going to be able to be very successful. And he also happens to marry Refugia, the daughter of Martin de Leon. And so as a son-in-law, he is now going to be a big support and big help for Patricia. Likewise, Plácido Benavides is going to marry, he is the school teacher. He had come with his brothers to the Victoria colony when there was a yellow fever epidemic in San Antonio. And when he comes as a school teacher, sometimes it happens, he falls in love with one of his students. And that happens to be the daughter, Agustina, of Martin and Patricia de Leon. So he also becomes a son-in-law to Patricia and is able to provide support, help for her. Now, the difficulty with this time period is that her children are going to have to decide, are they going to side with the conservatives, or are they going to side with the liberals, the centralists, or the federalists? And in this case, as you can see from this chart, the first three, Fernando, Miguel Aldrete, and Jose Silvestre, as well as Jose Maria Jesus Carvajal and Plácido Benavides. All of those in blue are going to side with the liberal Federalists. The others, however, Desiderio Garcia, Jose Felix, Agapito, and Rafael Manchola, are going to side with the conservatives. You can imagine what Christmas dinner must have been like around Patricia de la Garza's house. Her family may perhaps not have been speaking to each other. During the Texas Revolution, of course, in Victoria, they are not so concerned with Santa Ana as they are concerned with General Urrea. General Urrea is going to come up through the area that has been settled by the Irish, and General Urrea's advance as he comes up through Goliad, he is going to capture Fannin, of course. He is going to capture King and Ward, and unhappily, there is also going to be the execution, or the massacre, if you will, the execution of all of those prisoners at Santa Anna's orders. General Urrea was not one who believed in executing these prisoners, but Santa Anna had so ordered it, and so he tries to carry out the execution. Now you'll notice Carlos Rancho. Carlos Rancho was actually run by a man named Carlos de la Garza. As far as we know, that de la Garza was not related to Patricia de la Garza, but Carlos de la Garza actually does save some of his Irish neighbors. And he is probably one of the most influential of the centralist conservatives who is going to help to protect his Irish neighbors. The Fagans, the Teals, the Riddicks, all of these families were saved from the Fannin massacre by Carlos de la Garza. So not all of the conservatives believed in getting rid of the Anglos.